Hello, everyone. Welcome to another stream for Nerds in the Word. I hope those of you in Ontario, Canada, yeah, I'm saying that. Guten Tag, good Solomon. Good to see your digital on here. Woo! All of a sudden, the music cut out. We're gonna try and fix that again because for some reason it cut out. I don't know why. It's because I'm not pretty. It's probably because I'm not pretty. One moment. Awesome. Oh, he's making me hydrate. That's as important. Hydrate. And I will stretch by getting up in a moment. Be right back. Oh. And there we go. I don't know why. The music just decided. It was like, no, I'm done. Done with you. But now we're back on. And now we're back to semi-normal. I mean semi-normal as normal Wilson can be. There we go. Now you don't have to be a stranger. Now you can be close and you can hang out. Be nice up close with Wilson. Ooh. I don't know why I made it sound a little creepy like that, but I did. So you gotta just semi-deal with it. Kind of. That's how it goes. Anywho, yeah. I hope you guys had a good weekend here in Canada, and specifically Ontario. We had a longer weekend. We had this thing called Family Day. So I got to hang out a bit more with my kiddos. So that was kind of cool, being able to do that. Good morning, Delexima. Hope you are having an awesome day for you, wherever you are at and whatever you are doing. Praying for your job searching. That's what I'm doing. I'm praying that the job searching is going well and that things are going smoothly on that end, or at least lots of opportunities are coming and stuff like that. So, but yeah, yesterday was Family Day, and so I got to hang out with my fam jam, clearly, and we did something a little bit special for Family Day this round, was that we decided we were going to watch the Sonic trilogy. So that was cool. Coach was catching up on all the Sonic goodness that was going on. She had not watched the first one. I think she had seen the second one like in bits and pieces and stuff like that too. But we watched through the Sonic trilogy. Third one, oh my word. The hype is genuinely legit. And we have a dude on our Discord. His self-attributed name is Shadow. So it works really well. He's a huge Sonic nerd. Like, oh my goodness. There are things that I'm learning about the series, and I thought I knew a decent amount about Sonic, because I grew up with that. Yes, Jim Carrey, fantastic at Mr. Robotnik, or Robotnik, and both versions of him, he was really good. He is a really good Robotnik. What I appreciate is seeing more and more of Sonic's, like, other people that are involved in this series. There was a spoiler at the end. I'm not going to dare say it because I do not like spoilers. You need to see the series. You need to see the third one to enjoy even more. All I'm just going to say is Hannah freaked out as soon as, like, she got to see the end. It was fantastic. So it was really cool being able to nerd out as a family, to be able to watch this series, to be able to get in on it together. So yeah, it was really kind of cool. But that was essentially my weekend, other than we went to a cool gymnastics club that they had, like, Family Day open house kind of thing like that. So my kids got to run around and do crazy stuff for energy wise, and just be silly and obnoxious and uber sweaty. My son just knows no slowdown, so it was kind of crazy that way. Haven't seen the second one, but I've seen the first and third one. It was really good. Oh dang, Delexma, the second one is actually my favorite because it's got Knuckles. I'm not gonna lie, Knuckles is my man. Idris Elba, who plays as Knuckles, oh man, I love him. I think he's such a good choice for Knuckles, the Echidna Warrior. And my favorite line from Sonic 3 is, "I have dishonored my marshmallow." I now vow to use that every time I burn a marshmallow, which is pretty rare. Just saying, you want a good classic, like, golden brown marshmallow roasting? You should come on over to the Wilson's place. We got you covered. We'll figure it out. We'll do it. It's awesome. Just letting you know. Wow, a lot of pressure. But yeah, that was this weekend. We got snowed in a lot. Shoveling was fun yesterday. Coach saved my back by massaging my back. Oh my word. Coach, if you're watching this, thank you so much. Oh my Lana. My back was just nuts. Whoa! I got Solomon both on YouTube and on Twitch. That is a little bit mind-bending craziness. But hopefully you guys had a good weekend. Throw down. What was your weekend like? I would love to know. And hope that dishonor on you, dishonor on your marshmallow. Lexma, you understand. Don't dishonor the marshmallow. Just don't do it. The marshmallow doesn't deserve it. Don't do it. But hopefully you had a good weekend or did something. I know Solomon got sleep, and that's an important thing when you feel like when things are not working out for you to not be able to sleep. So Solomon, legit, me and my wife got super excited to hear that you got sleep. So we know that we are praying for you for your sleep. Okay? Oh, and side note, Solomon, I finally got my Tonfas. So I'm excited. My Tonfas are beast machines that I am so excited to be using. In if you guys are like, what do you mean Tonfas? What are you using Tonfas for? Using Tonfas in our game Warframe that we've been playing, and oh my goodness, is the stream buffering? Yes. Yeah, we have low feed for some reason. This happens every once in a while. I really don't know why. It's super frustrating. But yeah, we're just gonna hope and trust that things get worked out. The Lexima yesterday and very early this morning was filled with car stuck in stuff. Oh, that sucks. Lexima, that really bites. Sorry to have that. Oh, by the way, hold on. Nuggets! Nuggets, that's for you. Just for you. Because you're a wonderful human being / person. I yell at you. Man, no, that sucks. Sorry to hear that. It's not a good time. Whoa, we have a Hoff on here. Hoff, don't mind the buffer. It's been a rough go, at least for this morning. I don't know why, but it just simply is. And so we are just kind of working through it, as it were, and trying to maintain that we're still streaming. But yeah, I don't know why it's buffering so much today. Doesn't make any sense. Nothing else is really going on. Weird. Anywho, guys, enough of me chatting too much. Let's get right into the word, where we're going to dive into Psalm 55. Yeah, that's right. We're picking up where we left off. This is going to be good times, going to be good fun. Yeah, we're going to be chewing on Psalm 55. You guys might like the title. It's already kind of like the big hint on what's going on this psalm. But not gonna lie, there's a lot to work through in here, and a lot of personal thought processing, you name it. So let's just chew on this together. Let's work on it, and let's have a good time. Grab your highlighters, grab your digitals. You like this camera angle. Oh, more like the direct on rather than the side approach. Good to know. We can make that work. We can make that work off. That's good to know. The next thing that we gotta get is a boom stand for this microphone. So with the help of what Solomon's been throwing at us, yeah, I'm looking at you, Solomon. You've been blessing us a whole lot. That might go toward a mic stand. Just saying. That might be a thing. Because it would be nice to be able to have it like up close and I could almost like eat the microphone. That's the rule in showbiz. Eat the microphone. Oh my goodness. I'm kicking the camera. Don't mind me. I just wanted to move my leg. Okay. Back on task. Psalm 55. Grab your Bibles. Get ready. Let's chew together. Listen to my prayer, O God. Do not ignore my cry for help. Please listen and answer me, for I am overwhelmed by my troubles. My enemies shout at me, making loud and wicked threats. They bring trouble on me and angrily hunt me down. Whew. My heart in my chest, or my heart pounds in my chest. My heart in my chest. It pounds. Don't mind me. I'm just practicing my William Shatner. Don't mind me. My heart pounds in my chest. The terror of death assaults me. Fear and trembling overwhelm me, and I can't stop shaking. Oh, that I had wings like a dove. Then I would fly away and rest. I would fly far away to the quiet of the wilderness. Interlude. Pause. How quickly I would escape, far from this wild storm of hatred. Confuse them, Lord, and frustrate their plans, for I see violence and conflict in the city. Its walls are patrolled day and night against invaders, but the real danger is wickedness within the city. Everything is falling apart. Threats and cheating are rampant in the streets. It's not an enemy who taunts me. I could bear that. It's not my foes who so arrogantly insult me. I could have hidden from them. Instead, it is you, my equal, my companion and close friend. What good fellowship we once enjoyed as we walked together to the house of God. Let death stalk my enemies. Let the grave swallow them alive, for evil makes its home within them. Ooh. But I will call on God, and the Lord will rescue me. Morning, noon, and night, I cry out in my distress, and the Lord hears my voice. He ransoms me and keeps me safe from the battle waged against me, though many still oppose me. God, who has ruled forever, will hear me and humble them. Pause or interlude. Shalomi, my homie there, Rabbi. We're just diving into Psalm 55 here. For my enemies refuse to change their ways. They do not fear God. As for my companion, he betrayed his friends. He broke his promises. His words are as smooth as butter, but in his heart is war. His words are as soothing as lotion, but underneath are daggers. Give your burdens to the Lord, and he will take care of you. He will not permit the godly to slip and fall. But you, O God, will send the wicked down to the pit of destruction. Murderers and liars will die young, but I am trusting you to save me. Guys, a whole lot. Wow, that was a whole lot of conversation. Welcome, Nuggets. Impressed that you're joining us. I guess you could be listening to stuff like that. Watching in silence because of class, though. How dare... No, that's fine. That's okay, man. It's all good. It's all good. No. Hope you guys are having a good time and able to hop in and chill and chew on this good stuff that's happening. Well, good stuff I say as in good reading God's word. Hard stuff as in, man, this psalm is not Trey chill. Psalm 55, has the typical flow of David in distress, right? David going through a rough time. He's surrounded by a situation. He feels he's defeated in some ways, but this one has a different flavor, and we saw it as we read through that that this flavor has betrayal in it, right? And so we're sitting on it a little differently and working through it. I'm here to kick butt and repair miracles, apparently, and I'm all out of miracles. Wow. Whip the hypocrites. Dang, Nuggets is kind of going all out today, guys. Watch out. Give Nuggets a breather or something. Sheesh. Coffee. All right. So starting off, verse 1. Listen to my prayer, O God. Do not ignore my cry for help. Please listen and answer me, for I am overwhelmed by my troubles. My enemies shout at me, making loud and wicked threats. They bring trouble on me and angrily hunt me down. Okay, so again, we have the distress mode that's going on here. Kick the butts. Absolutely. We have distress that's going on here. We have worry that's going on. Don't ignore my cry for help. Please listen and answer me, for I am overwhelmed by my troubles. So enemies are causing problems again. They are throwing threats. They are bringing trouble onto him. They hunt him down. So David's surrounded again. And at some point, maybe some of you are like, oh my goodness, David, this is the theme of the week this week is that you're getting hunted down. Next week it's going to be you're super overjoyed and can't stop talking about God. The other thing, you're going to be contemplating on life, and then you're going to be back at distress and stuff like that, right? We talk about how David kind of goes on these up and downs, right? But that kind of reflects our life, right? I keep saying right? But that's like our life, in that we have moments of distress. We have times where it hits, and our life can feel like a roller coaster too. This is where I do appreciate the Psalms and the reflections of that. Being able to sit on it and just go, man, yeah, I feel like I'm surrounded. Maybe I am surrounded. Maybe I do have enemies that are legitimately threatening me. And I've personally never had that kind of situation. But I can think back to when my dad was a cop, he legitimately had people threatening not just his life, but my family's life. Real nervous moments that my dad had to work through in the midst of just honestly being a cop and working through that. And that's hard, right? I'm sure if he was reading Psalms throughout that time, he would have been like, there's a lot of relatable things going on here. And a lot of messed up stuff. God, where are you stepping in? What are you dealing with these people who are threatening me or my family or stuff like that? For instance, Solomon's going, wow. For instance, a guy had it out for my dad, and he made a distress call to dispatch or to 911, and dispatch got it, and they needed to send a police officer, but they were specifically asking for my dad. And just to talk him through, and this guy had some stuff that was going on that was not good, and had a history with my dad. And the dispatcher heard a clicking sound in the background, but it was almost like a cocking clicking sound, and it was of a shotgun getting loaded and cocked ready to fire. And the dispatcher notified my dad, saying I wouldn't go into the front. I wouldn't go seeing this guy. It sounds like there's something not good coming your way. And so because of that dispatcher knowing that, or heard that, they had a special unit to go in and take this guy down in other parts of his house, so that there wouldn't be a threat on them, but then also, yeah, whoa, a shotgun is right. Wouldn't get themselves hurt, but then my dad could enter in and wouldn't get, taken out. And sure enough, yeah, the guy had a shotgun loaded, ready to go to blast whoever was gonna walk through that front door. So like the veil of threat, I'm not saying I experienced that or I know that, but like I'm just trying to process that, because this first segment of the first 7 verses, by golly, that's a lot to take in. When there's a legitimate threat on your life, that would weigh heavy. And I think I get stressed out over stuff that weighs heavy in my mind on taking care of my family. I'm not even at the level where, I'm talking about my physical safety, well-being of like, if I show up to work today, I might not come home tonight due to certain situations. And that was David. Like, David was a warrior. He was a fighter. He was a general. He legitimately had physical threats to deal with, and that's kind of nuts that he's processing that. And so then, like, verse 4, my heart pounds in my chest, the terror of death assaults me. Like, man, couldn't imagine. Fear and trembling overwhelm me, and I can't stop shaking. I've only had one time where I could not stop shaking, and it was when I was super stressed. And the only way that I knew I was even shaking was because I like hugged someone else, and I was able to go, oh shoot, like I'm freaking out over stuff, and they were able to help me and process through it and stuff like that. But I can really vibe with 6 and 7. Oh, that I had wings like a dove, then I would fly away and rest. I would fly far away to the quiet of the wilderness. Okay, let's reread that one, verses 6 and 7. Oh, that I had wings like a dove, then I would fly away and rest. I would fly far away to the quiet of the wilderness. Isn't that weird to look at wilderness as a place of rest? Like a place of rejuvenation? And I want to kind of chew on that a bit, because often when we look at wilderness, it's often a testing, which makes sense, right? Like when you're looking at Israel through the 40 years, that was 40 years in the wilderness walking around, but they had to rely on God, and God was providing for them. And I get that was part of like God was taking out a generation because they were not willing to obey, were not willing to trust, were not willing to go into the promised land when he said, okay, we're ready to go, like let's do this. Yes, there's scary huge people, but like don't worry about that. Like, we often look at wilderness as a bad thing. But I guess the way I'm looking at it is like, look at Elijah. In the midst of drought, in the midst of the wilderness, he was provided for. Like, even when he was lying down and kind of like doing his thing where he was upset on stuff, which is fair, but like when he was having his time out into the desert and things were heavy, like ravens were bringing him food. And he was being prepped food while he could just like lie back and chill and rest for a while and stuff like that. Maybe we mistake the wilderness. And this is like, this is me talking to me, really, guys. Like, this is me throwing at you, like, you done goofed up like that. Like, no, I'm not throwing that at Hoff or Rabbi or anybody in particular. This is something that I've been kind of working through and chewing. Food, 100%, Solomon, 100%. But sometimes our wilderness, we can look at it in a negative way, and maybe God intends it that in the wilderness, not just that you have to lean on him, but it's your space of rest. Even Psalm 23 that we read, where the sheep are being led to where they're supposed to eat, I have been misreading it the whole time. See, in my head, I've got like very lush meadows. I've got like very like chill, flourishing environment that's going on. But I live in Canada. I goofed up. Oh no, you didn't goof up. You didn't goof up. I'm chewing on stuff here, but like, in Psalm 23, when it talks about when he leads them to green meadows, like where they rest in green meadows and beside peaceful streams, right? Like, so the streams, like he's sustaining them, but the green meadows is actually not the best way to translate it, because out where David would have been feeding his sheep, there's like little turfs, like small bits of turf that are little bits of green patches. It's not like a full green, like gourmet kind of stuff like that. It's small bits, and he's the one who sustains them. The shepherd, or God, knows how to feed us in that, and we can still have rest, that we can rely on him in that. And here, David, because this is a Psalm of David, is kind of like, I just want to go away from it all. I want to get away from the noise. I want to get away from the busyness, but I want you to sustain me. You catch what I'm throwing here, guys? Like, it's a different kind of thing. Shoot, man, Rabbi. The Torah was given in the wilderness rather than in the land owned by a group of people, because the wilderness is free to all. Wilderness is a transition period from one state to another. One must leave a residence, go through a wilderness before arriving to another. Wilderness is also where one must rely on God than himself. You rely on God to provide for you in the wilderness, causing a level of humility which uplifts a person. Heck yes. And humility brings closeness to God. As it states, Moses was the most humble man, and later there has never been another prophet like Moses, for the Lord talked to him face to face. Right. In the wilderness, we get our most engagement to God, and it forces you out in that way too, right? Like, as you just put, Rabbi, you are entirely dependent on him. And there's problems with cushiness. You know what I mean? Like, there is a problem when you get too comfy and you feel safe and secure. And here, I love how David's call is that I wish I could fly away to the quiet of the wilderness, to the peace, to the I need to trust and rely on God, which makes sense. As a shepherd, that would be his zone. He knows what it's like out there. He knows that it's rough, but also it's beautiful. There's a beauty in the wild kind of idea, or the untamed beauty, kind of stuff like that. Not just in looking at the climate, but then looking at the time that he gets to sit and be able to be with God and be real with God. And that, you must nullify yourself, ego and pride, in order to make room for the divine to reside in you. A cup filled with rocks can never be filled entirely with water. Oh, the wilderness is where you go to empty yourself. Rabbi, come on, bro. Preach, man. That's good stuff. That's good steak to chew on right there. That's good. Yeah. Oh, man. And that's like only in the first 7 verses. We haven't even gotten through fully a third yet. But you see his problem, right? You see David's problem. He's done this introduction of, God, help me. My enemies are at it again. They are throwing threats. I'm panicking. I'm freaking out. God, help me. Sustain me. I want to run back to that wilderness to be free of that, so I can just rest in you, that I can rely on you and trust in you. That's so good. Fair point. Fair point. It's good stuff. Okay. So now we dive into the other bit from this break of this one interlude. How quickly I would escape, far from the wild storm of hatred. Okay, again, chaos vibes going on here from this wild storm of hatred, this ensuing madness that goes on, right? Oh, snap. It's easy to have pride in your home, sitting on your wealth and things surrounding you. But it's more difficult being alone, cold, and in the dark, in a wilderness where you own nothing. You have no claim to anything. You are nothing. Your material possessions give you no honor among the animals, nor does the weather honor your titles. Oh, snap. That's amazing. Rabbi, good insight. I like that. Yeah, it's a level playing field out there. Level playing field. Okay. Verse 9. Confuse them, Lord, and frustrate their plans, for I see violence and conflict in the city. Its walls are patrolled day and night against invaders, but the real danger is wickedness within the city. Everything is falling apart. Threats and cheating are rampant in the streets. Okay, so that's an interesting change in that. Oh, thank you. Oh, that was my shoulder that popped. That was gross. Oh, my word. Thank you, Solomon, for the hydrate. I needed that. That was good. Yeah, so what I'm finding interesting here, okay, we went from wilderness focus, like wanting to go back to the wilderness. How quickly I would escape far from this wild storm of hatred. So you're like, okay, so this is chaos. But that's like in the oceans. That's like, follow with me image-wise what I'm painting in my head. He's clearly in a bad situation where he's at, and he wants to be in the wilderness. But then he's painting out that I would escape this wild storm of hatred. Okay, so there's like this feeling of like there's a storm lingering going on. There's a storm above. There's craziness, unease, and chaos, as it were. Confuse them, Lord, and frustrate their plans, for I see violence and conflict where? In the city. So in the place where there should be security, there should be rest, there should be peace, there's chaos. There's madness going on there. There's something, and it's a chaos of hatred, but there's also violence and conflict. Its walls are patrolled day and night against invaders, but the real danger is wickedness within the city. So twice that is within the city, or in the city. That's the problem. So although it's got this impressive wall that seeks to push out anybody from getting in, the real scariness is not the walls. No, it's what's going on inside. It's like the beast itself. It's its own beast kind of feel that's going on to the city. Everything is falling apart. Threats and cheating are rampant in the streets. Rampant. Kind of like animals, like disease, like everything wrong that you don't want. Solomon, be nice. Be nice, Solomon. Everything is just kind of chaos within the city itself. The city is the danger itself, almost. And David just wants to escape. That I just want reprieve. I want rest. I want clarity from this. And so then David gets it even honed in further. We go from there's chaos in the city, to then like what's going on in the city, just broken people, messed up, wickedness, violence, conflict, threats and cheating are like these problems are going on. And everything is falling apart. Even like the security of the walls, everything is breaking down. It's not actually holding strong. But verse 12 here. Oh, hello. Welcome, and thank you for the follow, Luptio. Whoa, that's a lot of Russian. I don't know what that is. I'm so confused. Solomon's got to do some translating, and if it's appropriate, throw it in the chat. If it's not, throw it in, throw it into my Discord convo that we're having, and we'll figure it out. But, oh my word, that's a lot. What's going on there? Sorry, I have no idea what you're throwing down there, Lutopia. Lutopio? There we go. That thing. I don't speak Russian, sadly. Oh, man. Solomon, I'm like eyeing the messages so hard for you, just in case. Canada, yes. Yeah. We are featured in Canada, or I'm in Canada. Dang, this is like nuts. This is so cool. Okay, back on track here. Okay. So verse 12, this is where it gets really serious. This is where it starts honing in and stuff like that. He's a mega nerd. Awesome. It's not an enemy who taunts me. I could bear that. Okay, so it's not a particular enemy, opposition person. It's not foes who arrogantly insult me. So again, it's not like an opposition kind of focus, stuff like that. Because he could have dealt with that. Instead, it is you, my equal, my companion, and close friend. What good fellowship we once enjoyed as we walked together in the house of God. So, we're finally at it. We're finally at what the core of what David's facing. It's not just these enemies that are surrounding him. No. It's not that. It is a friendship. It's a betrayal. It's someone that has backstabbed him. A2 Brute, right? Like Julius Caesar vibe. Like, what the heck? Like, this is where the security of your walls are meaningless, are not helping or doing any stuff like that. It is just rough. And so that's kind of crazy. Holy snap, there's a lot of convo going on there. When you guys become 51st State, you should come visit. Rabbi, I would just like to visit, period. Whether that were to be a thing or not, which I don't think it will be. But, love to come by and visit. Yeah, but yes, no. Lots of snow. Oh, wow, minus 30? Dude, we are not in minus 30. We've got, feels like minus 21 over here. So it's windshield's worse than the actual temperature. I think it's like minus 11 right now. But yeah. Anywho, we're sitting on Psalm 55 there. Lutopio, if you want to be reading along with us in the Bible, we're in Psalm 55 and join in. We are currently sitting in verse 15. Because we just found out that the thing that's causing what time is it in Canada? It's 11:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time is where I'm shooting from. So okay. Back on track, guys. Back on track. So it's 1:02 p.m. Dang. That's kind of nuts. It's actually pretty cool. It's after lunch. It's good. Okay. Let death stalk my enemies. Let the grave swallow them alive. For evil makes its home within them. Yo, that's harsh, right? We're talking about harsh treatment on how to take out this enemy, but I find it interesting. Death let the grave, let judgment sit where they are not in a good place, that they're dead. For evil makes its home within them. So you see this dwelling of inside them, brokenness, messed up kind of vibe. And with that going on, we have we have this look of how David's friend is really kind of the root he sees it. This friend, this betrayal is what's caused all this chaos around him. And so he's begging God to show up, to help, to save, to protect him in the midst of this. And verses 16 to halfway of 19 really sits on that. Let death stalk my enemies. Let the grave swallow them alive. Evil, like, that's his plea. Like, just take care of this issue. Take care of the evil and stuff like that. Oh boy. Verse 16. But I will call on God, and the Lord will rescue me. Morning, noon, and night, I cry out my distress, and the Lord hears my voice. He ransoms me and keeps me safe from the battle waged against me, though many still oppose me. God, who has ruled forever, will hear me and humble them. Here we have that God, like that David's calling out to God in his distress, right? Calling out to help him, to save him in the midst of this craziness, right? I will call on God and the Lord will rescue me. He's depending on it. He's relying. Just like how in the wilderness, God showed up and helped his people, helped Israel, helped save them, right? And with that, we have this call for peace, this call for security, for, just in general, for God to show up. I appreciate that morning, noon, and night, I cry out in my distress, and the Lord hears my voice. I find that kind of interesting, almost kind of like a somewhat juxtaposition to the patrols in verse 10. Its walls are patrolled day and night against invaders. But here David is not just like day and night. It's like, no. Morning, noon, and night. Like, I'm consistently calling out to God. I'm consistently looking for his help. I'm looking for him to save me from the situation that I'm in, from the difficulty that I'm facing. And so here David is putting out his plea. I cry out in my distress, and the Lord hears my voice. He ransoms me. He buys me back. He's the one who puts the effort to save me and all of that. Keeps me safe from the battle waged against me, though many still oppose me. Keeps me safe from the battle waged against me, though many still oppose me. And it kind of brings back like when Israel had gone through different fights in the deserts, or, well, not fights in the deserts, but like, I'm thinking like Joshua, where there was like times where God just shows up and takes care of it, right? Like in the battle, it was the ones where they relied on God and trusted in him and like just followed God's lead. There was safety, there was security. They didn't have to worry about their numbers or the other army's numbers and stuff like that. And so with that, we can be reminded of the peace. Remember when Moses had to hold up his staff, right? And he had Caleb and Joshua, I believe, were both with him holding up his arms, because the longer he had his arms up, they were able to see God's hand guiding it, right? Like God's hand guiding the fight in the midst of that. But they had to trust him, and they had to do what God was telling them to do. God, who has ruled forever, will hear me and humble them. I want to pose this question for you guys in the midst of this. Do you really trust that, but I will call on God, like rereading through this part of like 16 to 9.5, so stuff like that. But I will call on God, and the Lord will rescue me. Morning, noon, and night, I cry out in my distress, and the Lord hears my voice. He ransoms me and keeps me safe from the battle waged against me, though many still oppose me. God, who has ruled forever, will hear me and humble them. Do you guys honestly believe in that? Like, reading that, it's nice, and it's can be a platitude that we kind of just hold on to, grip, and hope that it's going to be a reality. But do you really trust that God will, in the end, show up? Do you have faith that God is good on, like, when we call on him, he hears us? That he gives a rip? That he doesn't just, like, acknowledge, oh, you're there, but, like, he hears your voice? Because I think often than not, we kind of don't trust in that. We don't sit and rely on God in the midst of that. We like the idea that God shows up when the chips are down, but really when the chips are down, sometimes we can just wrangle it ourselves and try and figure it out. Especially when things are chaotic and that has not been a fault on your end or anything like that, but it still hits. Like, chicken salt chips. Interesting. Like, what do you guys... Do you feel like you can honestly call out to God for help? That's what I'll pose as a question right now to anyone. Throw it in the chat. Do you feel like you can trust in God in this way? That, like, when you call out to God, when you are throwing it down... hello, Dilly Dethane. Welcome. We're doing okay. Sure, you can do that. So you can do that, Wally. You feel like that when you call out to God that he legitimately is hearing you out. Like, does he show up instantly, or does he, like... Is that something that you can just trust whether it's instantaneous or it's going to take a period of time? Do you still trust in that? Because every part of me, like... Guys, the thing that I'm kind of sitting on that is... Oh... Absolutely, I do. Well, depends on what you mean. I don't think God intercedes in creation as seek in a direct manner, but through his creation. Okay, interesting. Depends on the scenario, but yeah, okay. But I would say yes. Okay, interesting. Seek, awesome. Yeah, of course, depends on the moral framework of what you're asking of God. Right. Well, and I'm not even talking about vengeance. I'm not talking about any of this kind of mindset, but just even to know that God is there, he is with you in the struggle. As David often throws down, like, he is my refuge and strength. He is this rock. He is this peace that is there with me and stuff like that. We can be throwing down on that kind of stuff. But what I want to... I like coming back to that image that David throws down, verses 6 and 7. Oh, that I had wings like a dove, then I would fly away and rest. I'd fly far away to the quiet of the wilderness. And not to look at the wilderness as bad, but to look at the wilderness as a good time of refinement where I can sit with God, I can rest with him. I do like what you threw down there, Dane. What you threw down is, like, God shows up in his creation. I think that's a fair thing to throw down. I really do think so. I think I can have rest with God in creation that God uses to speak to me, to reassure me, to give me peace. I think he can speak to each one of us in how to respond to it. I'll give an example, and this is more to poke at the awesomeness of Hoff, if he's still on here. Hoff has been a big help for me in just simply being a shoulder to lean on, a brother that I can be real with and he can be real with me. I probably send him too many memes for him to deal with. I feel kind of ridiculous on it, but a lot of it is based on brotherhood or our talks about God and stuff like that. And I think that's God speaking in the midst of that wilderness, guiding and prompting Hoff in that way. And there has been different people in my life that have been doing that too. Coach has been really good in that, and she calls me out when I'm stressing out, or how I need to rely on God, or like how I can trust and be at peace. Hoff is there. I was wondering if you were paying attention. But seriously, Hoff, I appreciate that. That has helped me a lot in the midst of when I've been like, God, and what you throw, agreed, sir, and what you throw back at me. Yeah, no, I get it. I got you too, bro. We got each other. This is brothers in arms and all that goodness. Dang, Solomon throwing the love again this morning. My word. What do I want to encourage in this, in the midst of it? And we're not done reading the psalm yet. Like, we still are chewing on it, but oh snap, Rabbi throwing it down here. Do you believe in God more than pagans believe in theirs? It might be an odd question, but for reference, Roman dice were lopsided and unevenly weighed. The reason is because no one thought it was cheating. As soon as the dice leaves their hands, they no longer have control over it. Whatever the dice rolled was the will of the gods. They had so much faith in their gods that they did not believe weighted, lopsided dice had any impact on the result. Interesting. Oh, that makes more sense. Yeah. That makes a good connection on that. Interesting. I mean, we may throw the dice, but the Lord determines how they fall. I've thrown that down as some stuff that we've done with D&D, stuff like that. Cool. And absolutely, I would say God not only shows up for us, seeks, interesting, but for everyone. Our scripture says God is close at hand. He dwells deep within the hearts of all. Therefore, I do believe he can make a difference through creation. Interesting. Thank you for that insight there, Dane. I admit I've got to do some reading on your faith and what's the baseline of it and stuff like that. I had a former friend of mine in college who did some reading in on that. I'm going to have to do some more reading. But thank you for that input. God is close at hand. He dwells deep within the hearts of all. I'll have to show you some of the old bone dice. They look like something you had in a shady back alley gambling ring. Yeah, that's about right in some ways there too. I could get that. Oh man, now Dane. Man, lots of love, lots of conversation here. And this is where I think I think we need to be looking at how do we look to God here, guys. The heart of God, how he reveals himself. And I really think, hello, Thomas. Because here in the midst of this, right, David's he's seeing God in the midst of like calling out for him for his help, for his rescue, right? And he's working through on this kind of process of, God, how are you going to show up here? How are you going to help me? How I've been betrayed. And really, I can see this as like, God, I feel really betrayed in a lot of different ways. Like my own companion has kind of taken me out and has kind of wrecked me, has brought this down on me. God, I need you to show up that you are tighter than this companion. that you were more faithful than the people around me who I thought I could trust. And at the end of the day, at least from a Christian standpoint, from reading the Bible and looking at it, ultimately it's you and God. Ultimately, it's your relationship with you and God. And God will lead in the midst of that. God will guide along in that pathway when we look and lean on Him and we are trusting in Him. But ultimately, wherever God leads, you got to trust and hold on to Him. It's not a simple, like, everything's just going to be perfect, everything's just going to be right. You're going to be facing different times where you are surrounded by enemies, but do you trust that God is still faithful, more faithful than a friend, right? More faithful than the people around you, and hold on to that. Because, yeah, for my enemies refuse to change their ways. They do not fear God. We're back to what's the difference between those who are listening to God and those who aren't, right? The wicked and the righteous, as what the Bible's throwing down here. Those who are willing to acknowledge God and willing to hear Him out and then follow His will, His guidance on them, and then to bless others as well, right? That's the two golden rules, the things that Messiah threw down, the things that we can sit on, that when we love on God and we love on others, really we are demonstrating what peace can actually look like. But when you fear to acknowledge God or a higher being who's way past anything that you could even handle, you can be misguided in different ways because you just think, well, I know it all. I can handle it all. I've got it all figured out. And that doesn't typically work, because we then try and take over on other people. And that's hard, right? Like, this is where we need to listen to God, and then we need to be loving on those around us. And we demonstrate our love for God by loving those around us too. But verse 20, as for my companion, he betrayed his friends. He broke his promises. Okay, he's not loving on other people. His words are as smooth as butter. It seems good, but in his heart is war. It's chaos. It's destruction. Interesting. His words are as soothing as lotion, but underneath are daggers. Like, something that should be healing and restorative is actually stabbing, broken, messed up, and stuff like that. Interesting. If you yearn for eternal peace, seek refuge in the Lord. 100%. 100%. God is our refuge, His strength, and ever-present help in times of trouble. That's Psalms. Psalm 46, verse 1. We try, and if we are, it's largely by the efforts of other faith communities as well. Christians, I live in a predominantly Christian country, is a daily inspiration for me in my faith. Oh, that's cool. It's a really nice sentiment from you. But Christians and many others of faith are equally awesome. If I can support anyone in earnest faith, then it's my job done. And I think we need to have conversations. Okay? Like, I think we can better understand each other and having dialogue. I think we've had these hard fears of not having conversations amongst each other to understand where are some things that we do see understanding. I get that there's going to be differences. There's going to be differences as far as faith and standpoints, but I think we need to be able to understand what are those differences, what is the purpose behind those differences, but also what are some of the things that we do see, we do acknowledge, and what are certain platitudes that we need, we do agree on. I'd be interested to have that kind of conversation with you sometime, Dane, separately, just to pick your brain and just to learn. I've always been interested in different faiths and where they're coming from and where they stand on certain things, just to get an idea in principle of it. just to chew on things. So that might be another conversation, Dane. Might be another conversation. Back to our topic. So out of David's friendship, he sees the chaos that's within his friend. And I don't know who this friend is that he's looking at as a betrayer. I'd be really curious to understand if there's some kind of context to it, because we're not given really a point of what is that, who was that specific person, that we don't have a storyline. But this was enough of betrayal that it's like really hurt, right? His words are smooth as butter, but his heart is war. His words are soothing as lotion, but underneath are daggers. Coming from my wife awesomely giving me back massage yesterday, if she all of a sudden started like wink, 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 like shinking me, that would really suck, right? I'd go from like super relaxed to like, oh my goodness, what is this? And super tensed up. It's not good. But that's how he's feeling, right? And so what's his resolve in this? His resolve is in verse 22. Give your burdens to the Lord. He will take care of you. He will not permit the godly to slip and fall. So give it to God ultimately, and this is where we come back to God's the judge. God's the one who deals with it. God's the one who should be taking care of it. My task is to listen to God, follow his instruction, and to love on other people. And so God and his instruction are top priority, and then loving on people is the next demonstration of that love of God and his word / authority. So give your burdens to God. Give the thing that bothers you to God. Give that feel of wanting to deal with it in your own hands, because like, man, if someone backstabs you, you kind of want to give them tenfold on it, right? But give it back to God. Let him be the one who deals with it. Let his hand be the hand of justice that's dealt with here. And rely on that. Rely on him to deal with that. As Jesus said, turn the other cheek, right? Which actually shows then a major form of abuse. It was a further insult to instead of getting smacked on one cheek, it was out of anger, was displaced, but then the other side is insulting, it's rude, it's so much more wrong out of it, it just creates more and more of a problem. And he will take care of you. God's gonna carry you through that. It's like that sheep in the wilderness, that trust that he is the one who is taking care of you, sustaining you through it all. And then David decides to have the final words in 23. But you, O God, will send the wicked down to the pit of destruction. Murderers and liars will die young, but I am trusting you to save me. Wow. Again, it's God that deals with it. Murderers and liars will die young. They're going to fall into their own traps. They're going to get taken out. They're going to get wrecked, right? It's hard to take in. But again, he's giving the responsibility to respond to God, right? He's God, you take care of this. You're the judge. You're the one who does it right. And I've appreciated looking in Psalms, David always comes back to reflection on, God, if there's something wrong with me, I probably deserve this rough stuff that's going on. Almost like it's retribution off of what he's done. So, okay, now I'm getting the brunt on it. But here, David willingly takes it to go, okay, well, God, you deal with it. You are the one who is going to work it out. And if there is something wrong with me, then bring that up. And the idea that he's willing to ask for forgiveness, to repent, to turn from what he's doing currently to face toward God. Rabbi, I've appreciated what you've brought up in the past where it's going along the path of where God's leading, right? We can do our own path or we can stick to God's path, and the repent, shift from where you are to where God is, and following and leading and listening for his direction. Sit in his word, Know it well, because then you are guided by that well. You know what I'm saying? Like hold on to the things that he has revealed of himself and in his word, and be guided in that, and listen to his voice and follow it in obedience to him and loving on others. We need to do that. Wait, we got a rabbi in here. How wonderful. Right. You know, we got a whole mixture going on here, Dane. Basically, we believe that God is one and the truth resides in all of his traditions. Interesting. We're big on fighting injustice. Okay? Pursuing peace, as you say. We believe that there's one path to God, but that path can be joined in almost all traditions. Interesting. If done with humility, love of others, justice, tolerance, non-ego, non-violence, without selfishness, etc. You're pretty spot on on Altus. Yeah. Oh, the rabbi. Yeah. Anywho, guys, this is where I want to. We finished finally. After a little bit of time. My goodness, hour and 4 minutes. We just finally finished Psalm 55. If you guys are if anyone's just hopping in or just checking this out now, reflect on Psalm 55. We're going to have the VOD later, so don't worry about feeling like you missed out. We're on YouTube, we're on Twitch for both recordings, and we have our podcast that you can listen to and check it out. By dividing a man, killing with a sword, then your life too will be divided in half. Yes, the retribution prospect. But whereas the righteous one lived a life divided, some in this world and the rest in the next world, the wicked will live divided, some in this world and the rest. Wow. Oh, yo, Rabbi, that's a good word to throw down. That's rather smart. I never thought of it that way. Yeah. By dividing a man, killing with a sword, then your life too will be divided in half. But whereas the righteous one lived a life divided, some in this world and the rest in the next world, the wicked will be divided, some in this world and the rest in hell. Yeah. So like the wreckage of the current, but the full consequence of it later. That's interesting. Not an actual rabbi. It's a pun on my Rebbe's title, Alter Rebbe. I used to have as Altus Rebbe, but no one knew how to pronounce Rebbe and know what I knew what I meant. Okay, interesting. Good backstory, Rabbi. Good backstory. So here's my takeaway, guys. Here's my challenge for you. The level up challenge, as it were, how it impacts you. In the midst of the chaos, in the midst of betrayal, in the midst of the difficulty that David was experiencing, right? And we're all going to experience that in some way, some form. I would love to say that you won't get betrayed at some point, but it's a pretty messed up world out there. You know, like things are broken. We invite sometimes chaos into our life and all that kind of stuff like that. It's pretty broken, and we ourselves are broken. But thank goodness for Messiah. Thank goodness for Jesus Christ. Thank goodness for His work, that we are able to be free in that, and thank goodness that He reveals what God's intentions were from day one on how we are to live in the Torah, and how to live in His Spirit, to be guided in His Spirit, and to be encouraged in how we are living out our faith. So here's the thing. Jesus often retreated to the wilderness, or retreated away, and had times where He was just sitting with God on this. So my challenge in the midst of this, maybe you need to just go out and spend some time in the wilderness. When things are getting heavy, you need to go out for a walk. I know this is a personal challenge, and I need to work on it, because I get too comfy in my walls. And then, as we just read, inside the walls is chaos. Sometimes in the walls is betrayal. But we can call on God. God is faithful. He is reliable. He is compassionate. He is merciful. He wants to hear you call out. Yes, he is all-knowing, all-powerful, but he wants to hear you. He wants to hear what are your concerns, what are the things that you are facing. He wants you to be willing to be vulnerable and share that with him. And he wants to love on you throughout that time as well. Assume altar is the Messiah who died and will return. Okay. Oh boy. What I want to say is take time today. Even if you take just a little bit of time. Go out into your wilderness. If you're in Canada, by golly, it feels like a wilderness with all the snow that's everywhere. But it can be really quiet and it can be really peaceful and it can be a good time where you are just able to sit with God. Lay out your concerns, be real and honest, but expect him to show up. Pray as David did. Expect him to show up, to hear you out. That he will respond. And then what I want to say past that too is that when we do this, when we are able to call out on him, give the problem to him. Don't hold on to it. Don't clutch it. Don't death grip it to submission to what you want to do, because that's so easy for us to it's so easy for us to want to take in control. Give it to God. Let him be the judge. Let him be the one that adjudicates over the situations, over the problems, over the difficulties, period. Because there you can find rest. You can find reliance in God when you're out in the wilderness, because that's all you have is the reliance on him and stuff like that. So that'd be my encouragement. That's the level up challenge. Take time. Whether you're having a great time or not, go for a bit of a walk. Get out into the wilderness. Experience the goodness of God in his creation, but also pour out to him. Share with him. Give the control over to him. Even if it's as hardcore as a backstabbing, I can feel like. All right. And this time, we're going to open up for prayer real quick and throwing that kind of stuff like that. If you got prayer requests, please throw it down. If you are on Twitch, into our chat here. We got a cool thing where your prayer support has arrived, or your support has arrived. Throw it in there. If you're on YouTube, just type it in, because we like typing in things, stuff like that. Man, amen. Very well said, Graphic. And just to add on, many prophetic figures of other faiths did the same. Went out into the wilderness to seek the closeness with God. Okay, there's a lot of names on there that I can't. I'm sorry. Our gurus have a bunch with similar parallels. Hinduism has a major concept of asceticism. Yes, no, I'm aware on some of that. And I think that is where we... It's funny how that's a reoccurring theme. I'd agree with that. It's a reoccurring theme. Then the difference is what do we sit on when we come back to it? And how we see God is revealed and all that. But that's another conversation for another time, Dane. As you know, that's a really intense dive into it. Goodness knows I need to give up control of the stress right now. Yes, thank you, Dexma. We'll pray for that. We'll pray for work and for opportunity and all that. And Solomon, we'll keep praying for you. Yeah. And Solomon's encouraging the donation. My goodness. Wow. All right. Well, let me just pray then. Let me just take these up to God. Yeah, I'm going to take this up to God. Father God, I thank you for this time where we've been able to sit on Psalm 55. And man, have we had a lot of different conversations and guidance. And really, ultimately, God, Psalm 55 is David showing how does he trust in you in the midst of what can be a really brutal takedown of trust. Here he had his city walls, but it felt like more like chaos in the midst of it. Where there should have been security, there was brokenness. There was cheating and threats rampant like wild animals, like a disease in the city. There was betrayal, there was war and violence, there was lying, there was just brokenness, and in the center of it was a friend that betrayed him. What should be the safest spot that we have in our friends, who we can rely on, who we talk to, we show our weakest points, he got betrayed in that. And so he called out to you. He asked for you to protect him, to guide him, to save him. And so, God, I pray that you, when we do that, when we go out to the wilderness where it's just you and us, really, where we have to rely on you, when we have to trust in you, and you are the one that keeps us safe and holds us together. God, I pray that you would show up and you would show yourself faithful, show yourself compassionate and merciful, slow to anger, filled with unfailing love and faithfulness. You don't stab us in the back. God, you are faithful and true. So help us to see that. Help us to share our burdens, because we can be afraid after getting backstabbed so many times that we don't trust you. And I know, God, that's something that I struggle with. But God, help me to rely on you, to rest in you. And God, help me to get out into the wilderness. Help me to get out to meet with you there, to be vulnerable and to need you. Because sometimes security can even be our own downfall, the thing that wrecks us. God, I just also pray that I pray for Diexma and for this job hunt and the stress that's going on for Diexma. I pray that you would sustain them. I pray that you would take care of Diexma, and that, God, you would provide a job. It's hard hearing that Diexma's having that problem, and I've been hearing a couple of other people having that problem too, trying to find work. Pray that you would sustain them throughout this time, that you would bring people that would take care of Diexma's needs, to help that out, that community would form around her, but also that you would be sustaining, that there would be a job that Diexma would be able to have. And it would be clear from you. It would work out because of you. I pray for Solomon. Thank you for the bit of rest that he had. I pray for more nights of rest, more nights of peace, more nights where his body can catch a breather in the midst of chemo, in the midst of helping out his parents and doing all these crazy, awesome things and blessing on people. Yeah. Have your hand on him. God, I pray for my dad who's got his appointment tomorrow and getting his heart checked out. I pray for a good word to be heard. I pray for safe travels in the midst of our crazy snow-covered country that's going on right now. I pray that it would be safe, that there would be no cancellations, and that there would be good news coming out of this. And God, ultimately, I pray that I would keep my eyes on you, that as I can feel stressed, I can worry about details or things that are coming up, that I would give that to you. So help me to go out into the wilderness and trust in you, and be taken care of and sustained by you. I ask this in your name. Amen. The word burden in Psalm 55 is a bit odd. Interesting. It's not the common word for that would be used for burden. It's an Aramaic word plopped into the middle of the psalm. You'll see it in Ezra and Daniel, but that's it. Interesting. Huh. Very cool. Yes, Solomon, thanks for throwing into the link to check out my wife's Instagram goodness and stuff like that. She's got some good stuff there as well. But anywho, guys, that's been a long stream. It's been a good one, but I should let you guys go. I won't hold you guys hostage anymore. That's a joke. I won't hold you guys down anymore. But I want to thank you all for hopping in. This has been a very interactive stream. I've appreciated that. Oh man, Rabbi's throwing it down. It doesn't necessarily mean burden, but something that was given. It's a handing of something entrusted. Oh, so rather than seeing it as giving God a struggle, but rather saying, I am returning this back. I am not yet able to carry the gift you have given me. Interesting. Huh. Oh, that's cool. That's an interesting thought. I never thought of that. Oh, man. Okay, well, again, guys, thanks for hopping on. We will be back tomorrow here at 11-ish. Or not 11-ish, 10-ish. That's the time. From 10 to 11, it's going to be good. Oh, Lo-Fi. Yo! Thanks for following, Awesome Sauce. Man, we are one away from hitting our goal. That's kind of crazy. I hope that you guys have had some good stuff to chew on in Psalm 55, being able to look at how God responds, how God loves, and how we can trust and rely on Him. We can give things to Him even if we're not ready for it quite yet. We're not prepped for it. And I love how God wants to be there. He wants to respond. So take that and learn from it. Anywho, guys, we're going to peace out from here. Have a good one.